Alright, so a little Saturday video for you. Zero hedge. Would you turn down over $8 million in reward money for simply being a whistleblower? Who in their right mind would say, I'm going to turn down over $8 million because I blew the whistle on something in the banking industry? You could go live the rest of your life, no problem, right? $8 million, you could easily live comfortably the rest of your life. Very comfortably. But the reason this particular whistleblower said he didn't want to take the money was in essence a protest against the Securities and Exchange Commission for not doing their jobs against the bank he was blowing the whistle on and other banks. This is what you call someone who is really serious about, quote unquote, doing the right thing. We have to live under a nation of laws. If someone breaks the law says it should be the consequence should be spread evenly amongst the people who did it. In other words, oh well, you're Hillary Clinton, she doesn't get charged with anything. Oh, you're Colin Powell, you're a fine. Eric Holder, no problem, you're off the hook. But you two schmucks, you nobodies, you little people, we're gonna throw the book at you. So what this person is saying is, top executives are getting nothing, no consequences essentially. They'll pay a little fine. So he's saying, for me to get $8 million out of this, I'm protesting. I don't want it because you guys aren't doing anything. So why should I take this money if you're not even going to do anything about it? Why a Deutsche Bank, of all banks, right? Deutsche Bank whistleblower turned down a $8.25 million reward, in his own words. At the height of the financial crisis, when risk assets were imploding and counterparties were in danger of overnight collapse, Deutsche Bank avoided failure and nationalization by fabricating, i.e., what do I always tell you? Cooking the books. The value of its $130 billion derivative portfolio of leveraged super senior trades. Some history. Back in 2005, these trades were seen as the next big thing in the world of credit derivatives, something which Deutsche Bank at the time was building a massive position in. They were designed to behave like the most senior tranche of a typical collateralized debt obligation, or CDO, where assets such as mortgages or credit default swaps are pooled to give investors varying degrees of risk exposure. Deutsche Bank became the biggest operator in this market, which involved banks buying insurance against the possibility of default by some of the safest companies, the Financial Times writes. There was just one problem. When it was building up its portfolio, Deutsche Bank never accounted for the possibility of the financial world nearly collapsing, which is why, as the illiquid portfolio was careening, instead marking it to market, an act that would have resulted in the bank's insolvency, Deutsche Bank's risk managers misstated, kind of like Hillary Clinton misspoke, risk managers misstated the value of the positions by anywhere from $1.5 billion to $3.3 billion. Several years later, in 2002, the Securities and Exchange Commission found out about this. Did I say 2002? 2012. Several years later, in 2012, the Securities and Exchange Commission found out about this. And in 2015, slapped a huge, multi-billion-dollar company, $55 million fine on Deutsche Bank for this criminal fabrication. Yet nobody went to jail. At the height of the financial crisis, Deutsche Bank's financial statements did not reflect the significant risk in these large, complex, illiquid positions, said Andrew Kirisny, director of the Securities and Exchange Commission's Enforcement Division. So hold on. If Deutsche Bank's, what were those guys called, risk managers misstated the value, do you think by chance, I'm just going to go there, maybe possibly, the 1 in a billion chance even, that the other banks are doing the same damn thing because they're all insolvent? Is that a possibility by chance? Nah, just Deutsche Bank. Wait a minute, but they get fined for rigging things, and again, pay a fine, no one gets arrested, have a nice day. Well, that's funny because JP Morgan's got more fines than I can count, and so do all the other big banks. Pay this fine, you did wrong, no one goes to jail. Pay the fine. Wouldn't it be nice to do, if you're a big time criminal, the worst kind that you'd ever want to run into on the street, and you could just pay a fine every time you did something wrong? Oh, I mugged this lady today, broke her face, broke her jawbone. She only had 20 bucks anyways. Stupid Muppet. Oh, damn, I got caught. Just pay this little fine. I only got 20 bucks off of her. Oh, well. In proportion to these banks, just pay a $5 fine. Promise us you won't do it again. I promise I won't do it again. Alright. Then I do it again to a different person. I didn't do it to the same person. Oh, yeah, that's true. Pay another $5 fine. Okay. No one goes to jail. Could you imagine living in a society that way? It would be out of control. Everything would be out of control. I mean, you couldn't live in a place like this. You'd be leaving the country. This would be a third world hellhole. Dictatorship, anarchy everywhere. That's how it would go. Except that's actually how it is at the top. So we are in a dictatorship. There's no anarchy yet because the people keep putting up with it. But that's about to change. I got a sneaky suspicion when these derivatives that we're talking about here blow up the entire world's financial system. Deutsche Bank failed to make reasonable judgments when valuing its positions and lacked robust internal controls over financial reporting. Oh, you mean like clicking some buttons on a computer, running reports that are already there? Yeah, but don't say that. The reason why the Securities and Exchange Commission learned about Deutsche Bank's massive mismarked derivative exposure is because two former employee whistleblowers, Matthew Simpson and Eric Ben Artzi, told it. The duo alleged that if Deutsche Bank had accounted properly for its positions, its capital would have fallen to dangerous levels during the financial crisis, and it might have required a government bailout to survive. The highest estimate for the unaccounted loss was $12 billion, which explains why Deutsche Bank was desperate to manipulate the numbers. So, what about the stress tests? We ran stress tests. They ran stress tests. Everybody's passing this bank stress tests. That's because they're cooking the books and lying. That's why. Deutsche Bank passed the first time, right? The earlier. Last time they did it, years ago, they passed. But if they were telling the truth about their numbers, they would have failed miserably because they were already failing in real life. They didn't need a stress test. So when you hear that, banks pass with flying colors. Yeah, but the most recent one, you guys changed the algorithm, basically. You didn't use what the Federal Reserve used last time. You've changed it. And if you would have used what they used last time, you would have had some failures in the stress test. Which is why we didn't use that one, because we knew they would fail. It's about perception. We got to keep the people this perceived reality that the banking system is whole, it's completely solvent, it's great, nothing to see here. When in reality, it's the opposite. So the end result is Deutsche Bank got its little wrist slap with a token fine. The Securities and Exchange Commission came out looking like it knew what was going on, or like it knew what it was doing. And as we learned today, the two whistleblowers got major awards for helping the Securities and Exchange Commission collect the $55 million fine, amounting to 15% each. Only something unexpected happened. As the Financial Times writes, one of the whistleblowers who helped expose the false accounting at Deutsche Bank turned down a multi-million-dollar award from the Securities and Exchange Commission in protest against the agency's failure to punish executives at the bank. Eric Ben Artzi, the former Deutsche Bank risk officer, told the Securities and Exchange Commission he is declining his share of a $16.5 million payout the third largest in whistleblower program's history, which represents 30% of the $55 million Deutsche Bank was fined. But why turn down enough money that most people, even ex-Wall Streeters, could comfortably retire on? He said the fine should be paid by individual executives, not the shareholders, and suggested the revolving door of senior personnel between the Securities and Exchange Commission and Germany's largest bank had played a role in the executives going unpunished. How many times do I have to talk about the revolving door in government, and now, not now, but it's been that way, also, I should say, not now, but also in the regulatory agencies? Well, the CDC, essentially, Center for Disease Control, they're a regulatory agency. They have regulatory powers. So does the CFTC for the commodities. So does the Securities and Exchange Commission we're talking about here for Wall Street. So does the FDA, etc. You look at the USDA as well. The lawyer from Monsanto went and got himself a cushy position. It was either in the FDA or the USDA, I forget. I think it was FDA. Passed some laws, changed some things, even though some of his superiors around him told, or not necessarily superiors because he was in charge, but committee members or board members, not a good idea. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't. Oh, I'm going to overrule all you. I'm in charge now. Overrules them. Monsanto genetically modified everything. Come on down. Yeah. By the way, now that we got all that done, I'm leaving, going back to work for Monsanto. And then I think, if I recall, he came back again and then left again. I think a double reversal, revolving door, if you will. I think in that case. What have I just talked about recently? The documentary Vaxxed. Not that it really mattered, because I already knew in 2015 about the whistleblower testimony from the guy at the CDC, one of the top 5 people there, who said we destroyed the study, the evidence that proved there was a link between MMR vaccine and autism 100%, and it also showed that it was 2.5 times greater for black children to get autism from the shot than white children. However, all children are getting it because of there's a link between all children getting autism from the MMR shot. He said we destroyed it, threw it away. And then the top person of those 5 at the CDC, she went and worked for Merck Vaccine Company. As I said, every time they can add a vaccine to the schedule, they said they stand to make $30 billion. When I was a kid, I could literally count on one hand how many shots you could get easily. Good to go. Go to school, young man, young Jay Snip. Go ahead. Bright future ahead of you, son. Go on. Now, there's over 24. And as I said, it was either earlier this year or late last year, 3 more new vaccines were added to the schedule. The vaccine schedule. 30 billion, 60 billion, 90 billion. Cha-ching! And now you got people like this stupid, what do they call it, the stupid hat lady congresswoman from South Florida, pushing this mandatory vaccine crap to just for everybody in the country to get into school. Hasn't been passed yet, but she's got the bill. She brought it forward. She's been seen with Obama too in her crazy hat. Hey! It's because people like that think vaccines are good. Why would we think otherwise? It's been going on for decades. When I was a child, I got them. I mean, there's nothing to see here. Excuse me, your own CDC says there is something to see here. And they destroyed the evidence, and they said, and the Congressman, Mr. Posey, Bill Posey, I think his name is, from Florida, had a speech in front of the House floor. Guys, we need to put something forward to a committee to bring this guy in from the CDC to question him under, oath. We need to know what he has to say. It needs to be under oath, so it's official. And it said by the time the Vaxxed movie documentary was done, which was many, many months ago, to date, 7 months later, nothing's happened yet. No committee. So the point of that one was that if they find in favor that, oh my God, MMR there is a link, immediately all these families that have been claiming autism because of the shot now have the right to sue. They can't sue the vaccine companies because that law was passed in the late 80s. Can't sue the vaccine company ever. But you go to petition the vaccine court, as we call it. And they said only $3 billion has been paid out to date. So in about 30 years, 87, 97, yeah, about roughly 30 years, because it was either 86 or 87, $3 billion in total have been paid. Now that proves in and of itself, $3 billion, not million, that's a lot of money. There's clear evidence of vaccine problems. But if they said if they add the MMR connection to autism, the amount of people being told you can't sue, no, there's nothing here because there's no proof at all that there's a link, therefore case dismissed, they would need $1 trillion to settle with these people is what the amount is. And remember, who's not paying that? The vaccine companies. The vaccine court has taken that role over as of the late 80s. They pay out. And you have to prove to them in that court there was wrongdoing, I was hurt, I was injured, etc., or my son or daughter was. Do you think they're going to be able to say, listen, taxpayers, you're about to get a double whammy, you're going to love this. Actually, you're going to want to freaking kill us, but let me tell you anyways. Not only can you not sue an individual company for wrongdoing, which is literally against the Constitution. We passed that law against the Constitution anyways in the 80s, and it's been rolling ever since. Not only that, but we need to hit y'all up for $1 trillion to pay these people wrongdoing. It's been found finally that autism is connected to the MMR vaccine, and all these people who were turned down at that court are now liable to sue. There's going to be a class action. We're going to settle this easy, but we need $1 trillion. So your taxes are about to go up pretty substantially. Now, normally a person would say, well, if it helps somebody, someone who's hurt, you know, we care about each other. We don't mind helping out every now and then. But hold on, how much is this going to cost? Ooh. Well, oh, wait a minute. Who actually caused the problem? Such and such vaccine company through their MMR vaccine. Why aren't they paying it? Well, you see, back in the 80s, a little law was passed. Bipartisan approval. Dems, Repubs, okay? Which took away the right to sue those companies. Oh, well, hold on. I got an idea. My name's J-Stip4. I call myself Realist News. Got an idea. Before you move forward with this lawsuit that is going to get approved for $1 trillion, get your Congress critters together and have them pass a new law that repeals the old law and puts the blame squarely where it needs to be put, on the vaccine companies, so you can now sue them. Then we go after them. And I know there's not going to be $1 trillion there, but hey, they just had 3 vaccines added to the vaccine schedule. They're going to make $90 billion off of that, and that's one vaccine company. There's also over 24 vaccines in total. So if each vaccine is the equivalent of $30 billion, and there's over 24, I beg to differ. I think there is some money in those guys' back pocket. And the same thing happens in the CFTC. Like I said the other day, top CFTC guys, regulator for commodities market, Gary Gensler. Oh, he's moving up. He left the commission a while back. Nothing's ever been found in favor of anybody who claimed wrongdoing, market rigging, manipulation, etc. The judge who left the CFTC, who was there for that reason, there was 2 judges that oversaw cases, said in his parting letter, the other judge has promised to never, ever, ever bring a case in favor of a person against the banks, which is the one who runs the CFTC, who have all the contracts. He wrote it in his letter and left. Gary Gensler, nope, we've never found anything. Silver manipulation, Andrew Maguire told you 2 times the specific dates and times, down to the second, that it was going to happen. JP Morgan traders were going to rig the market and drop it. It happened. Nothing. We have a 3 or 4 year investigation. There's nothing to see here. So now that was at the helm of Gary Gensler at the helm. He moved on to be Hillary Clinton's top financial person in her campaign. And can you imagine if she wins, which again, if they rig it and she's going to win, and she decides, Gary Bear, how would you like to be Treasury Secretary? You've got such amazing skills and a background that's incredible. Ms. Clinton, I will gladly accept that position. Revolving doors. The same people get shuffled around and moved around. Take care.